I would say that I'm shocked to be doing another book haul, but I mean, are we really? I recently uploaded my first book haul of the year, and those were books that I bought specifically in celebration of my birthday. But then I realized that there were some books that I bought right before or maybe earlier in this year, and some books that were purchased after that haul that I have not gotten the chance to talk about on my channel. So I thought this would be a compilation video where I talk about all the books that I have hauled throughout the year that I have not gotten a chance to mention on my channel just yet. So first up, we have Dark Matter and Recursion, and these are both by the author Blake Crouch. I have been super into sci-fi as of late. Whenever I'm jumping into a new author's work, if it's an author that has a backlist, typically I try to read more than one book by the author. So I am actually... These are 5-star predictions for me. In the first book, we have Dark Matter. We're following a character named Jason who gets abducted and hit over the head. And when Jason wakes up, the life that he wakes up to is not the life that he remembers. His wife is not who he thought he was going to be. His son actually was never born. It's the same house, but a completely different life. And our main character, Jason, has no idea which life was the dream and which life is the reality. And we're following our character as he tries to uncover what's happening and what's true in his world. And I believe that this is like a psychological thriller, which I have always watched in like movie form, but I haven't read a psychological thriller, unless you count When No One Is Watching, because we do have a unreliable main character in there. But I'm really looking forward to getting into a book that's set completely around this premise, and I have not heard a negative thing about this book. This book is always listed in someone's top 5 sci-fi books, and I'm looking forward to getting into this one. And Recursion is by the same author, and the synopsis of this one is a little bit different. We have 2 main characters. One is a guy named Barry who's a cop, and he's investigating this phenomenon that's going around the world where there's this strange affliction that's attacking members of society, and it's causing them to lose their mind and have their mind filled with memories that they've never actually experienced. And then we have Helena, who is a neurologist or scientist, and she's trying to come up with this system that would allow people to relive their memories in real time so that they can re-experience a first kiss, a first love, a last dance, a last moment with a dying parent. And something has happened to where these 2 characters must collide because someone is doing something very sinister in this world, and they have to figure out what's going on and who's causing these affections and memories. And this also sounds like a psychological thriller, which kind of excites me again, to be honest with you guys. I know that the synopsis of this one sounds really weird. I mean, you can always go on Goodreads and look at the synopsis yourself, but after I read it, I will have more to tell you, so you're just gonna have to wait. So towards the end of last year, I actually got Ring Shout by, I believe is P. Jelly Clark, sent to me from Tor, and it was sitting on my shelves for quite a while, and I just never got around to reading it. I recently read it and really enjoyed it, and again, want to know more about the author, so I did purchase his new book, which is A Master of Jinn. There is a short story that goes before this book where we're following one of the main characters in here. I have not read it yet, but I do know that everyone recommends that you read the short story before you read the novel. Although it's not a requirement, you can definitely just jump into the novel from what I've been told. We're following a character named Fatma, who last summer apparently prevented the destruction of the universe. Members of this brotherhood at the school that she attends for supernatural and magical powers and alchemy are murdered, and someone famous who went missing 40 years ago is claiming to be this person back from the unknown to murder members who are causing some type of social oppression in this world. And our main character Fatma is called to the case to figure out who this person is and if they are who they claim to be, and the story just kind of unfolds from there. I plan to read the short story that goes with this sometime within a week or so. This is not high up on my to be read list, and neither was Ring Shout, but when I did finally read it, I did enjoy it, and I'm expecting the same thing from this one. The next book was actually sent to me by Penguin Teen, and this is going to be Fireborn. I don't know much about this book. I do know that we have 2 main characters who are both aiming for the dragon rider position within their society. So the book definitely has dragons, and something will happen to pit our main characters against each other. They have been best friends. I believe their name is Annie and Lee. Annie and Lee have been best friends since childhood, and now they must test their loyalties with each other as opposed to the missions that they're trying to accomplish. And I also believe that what's happening in the book will pit them against their family members as well. I know that there's a sequel to this book called Flamefall, and I have been seeing nothing but raving reviews about it, and I'm trying so hard not to be spoiled with the series because I just want to go in to this one with as little knowledge as possible, and then maybe I'll be able to just read Flamefall in all of its glory and just rave about it like everyone else. I know we have real high ambitions so far in this video, but you know, here's the hope. In the spirit of reading authors again, I am going to be jumping in with Madeline Miller. So these were not on my list to be purchased. Honestly, every time someone learns my reading taste and the fact that I study history in school and that I go to school for European history, I've studied a lot of Greek and Roman mythology, everybody's always like, why have you not read Madeline Miller? I've had Cersei recommended to me so many times. Like if I had a penny for every time someone told me to read this book, I could have purchased the book for $17.99. So there's that. And then we also have A Song of Achilles, which is supposed to be the better book that this author has written because this is a favorite for a lot of people. And I guess I'm just gonna jump in and see what happens. I don't know if they're historically accurate. Honestly, Greek mythology has been rewritten so many times that it would be kind of boring if it was historically accurate. I'm looking for something new and refreshing, and I don't want to put too much pressure on this author, but I do hope that these books are a little bit more messy and juicy in the plot than what I'm expecting. I am not a Greek mythology connoisseur. I honestly have no expectations going in for these books. Everyone else is telling me that they should be 5-star predictions, but honestly, they're not. So maybe I'll be blown away. So next up is the special editions of my favorite books, which is going to be Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares. I got the LitJoy Crate edition of these books, and I love them so freaking much. Let me put them in order. Look at the freaking covers of these books. They are so beautiful, and even the back of them has art. I really love the hand that's holding this person in the back of the book. And here you can see Laszlo in the library. So precious. These are annotated and signed by the author. So these books are annotated and signed by the author, and I'm going to be doing a reread, and I'm so excited to be getting into them and reading what Lonnie Taylor was thinking about when she wrote these books. So there also is some illustrations on the inside of the book. Honestly, if you've seen the illustrated versions of Royal Assassin from the Farseer trilogy, they remind me of them so much just from like the illustrations on the inside of the book and the hardbacks and the art. The only difference is that this one has foiled edges and those did not, and I'm so excited to have these. I'm going to cherish these forever. Like, I wonder if they can be buried with me. Is that too much to ask? I also got the US hardback editions of Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares. Yes, these are my third copies. No, I do not feel bad about them. I got these from Half Price Books for $9 each, and they are literally untouched, like pristine edition. I got both of these for less than $20 and no regrets at all. If I can get my hands on the UK hardbacks, I'm going to peak in life. Okay? I'm going to peak in life. If I can get my hands on the UK hardbacks of Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares, I will be up here with Queen Elizabeth. So the next book is also a 5-star prediction, and this is going to be Spinning Silver. Now this, I believe, is a retelling kind of a Rumpelstiltskin, and our main character is rumored to be able to turn silver into gold. I'm really looking forward to this one because I don't think I've ever read a Rumpelstiltskin retelling at all, so hopefully this one's good. The next book is going to be The Helm of Midnight. In this book, we're following this story where years ago, this heist was pulled off and they made off with this mask, and it's the mask of a serial killer who years ago was going around the city committing different murders, and now his spirit, or the spirit of this murderer, lives within this helmet. And after it's stolen, the spirit is somehow unleashed, and this murderer is now murdering again from beyond the grave, but the murders are different from what they were before. because before it used to be just sporadic and random, but now there seems to be a systematic order to the way that these murders are happening, and we're following this crew as they try to figure out who's causing these murders, how this person is able to murder beyond the grave, and honestly, what's triggering them to commit murders in a systematic fashion. I have not heard many reviews about this book. I know that I purchased it, and I know 2 other booktubers purchased this book, and I don't think any of us has gotten a chance to read it yet. So really, none of us has opinions yet. I'm hoping to get to this one soon. I was hoping that it would be a buddy read. I honestly don't know what happened. I think we both just kind of got sidetracked, but hopefully soon. Honestly, it's just not that high up on my list of books to read, but it's on my shelf, so it will be ready eventually, right? So the next book I actually got sent to me by Tor as well, and this one is a new release called The Son of the Storm. I have already read this book. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. There are some historical references in this book that I felt was chef's kiss, and it's not at all like Rage of Dragons, but I will put it in the same category because it is a high fantasy book that's based in African folklore, and it is adult fantasy and also written by a black man. So if you're looking to support more books in that genre, I highly suggest you read Son of the Storm. I feel like the series has so much potential, and so I will be continuing with the series. We follow this main character. We actually follow a lot of main characters, but I'm going to start off with Danso. Danso lives in this city, and he is a scholar. Our main character lives on the mainland, and he's been separated from the Out Islands. The people on the mainland believe that the Outlands are no longer populated, and that basically beyond their borders, nothing's happening outside the world. Our main character, Danso, comes in contact with an outsider from the Out Islands, and he discovers that not only is there civilization beyond the borders of his land, also they have magic, forbidden magic, that scares Danso and all of the people within his kingdom. And the story just kind of unfolds from there because there is some corruption that's happening, and Danso lives in this very colonized kingdom. And so he has a hard time combating between what he has known to be true his entire life and then what is false that he can see right before his eyes. There's so many other characters in this book who are also trying to get their hands on this magical element within the story, and it just, I don't want to give away too much. There are so many moving components within this book, and I honestly feel like that's the reason why the series has so much potential going forward, and I'm looking forward to getting into the other books. Danso reminded me so much of why I love history and why I love to study history, and he feels this, one of my favorite things about him is that he feels this need to get to the bottom of the truth, and not just the truth of what's in the moment, but like the true story, like what happened and how do we get from what used to be true within reality and to where we are right now. He's just a true historian, and I love that aspect about him. If you guys are thinking about reading Son of the Storm, I highly recommend it. And if you're looking for more books to read like Rage of Dragons that isn't going to be a copycat series, but it's going to give you a lot of the things that you love from Rage of Dragons, I highly suggest this one. It is also not as violent. There is violence in here, but it is not as violent as Rage of Dragons because we're not following a military warrior, we're following a scholar. So the next book I have is the Atlas 6. This is another high prediction for me. In this book, I don't know much about the synopsis, but I know that we have these students who are going to this secret magical academy, and I believe that there are 6 potential prospects to get into this secret society, and only 5 will make it, and 1 will not make it and also probably lose their life. And it's like a dark academia, and that's pretty much all I need to know. I kind of want this to be as mysterious and ominous as it sounds, and I'm really in love with the cover of this book, and I've also heard really good things about this one. This is actually on my list of books to get to really soon. This next one is going to be The City of Stairs, and this is by the same author who wrote Foundryside, and I absolutely did not enjoy Foundryside. It is on my list of books to unhaul, but I'm going to give this author a second chance because this book seems to be right within my alley. So the guys that wrote this city were very violent and brutal to the people that they controlled, and they were kind of spreading to take control over the world until the protectors of this city is finally defeated and they are believed to be killed, and the people within the city are colonized and subjugated and basically taken down to the weaker members of the social class within this world, until one day a diplomat is dispatched from another country to make sure that the people within this city remain under their tight control and very subjugated. And while she's here, she starts to investigate a murder, and one thing leads to another, and then she becomes aware that the gods that used to reign very much terror within the world might not actually be dead, and that the city may be coming into power once again, and she has to do everything she can to stop it. That sounds like a 5-star read to me, but I don't want to say that because Foundry Side was supposed to be a 5-star read and it wasn't. So I don't want to say that. The plot of this book reminds me of everything that I loved about Shrinks the Dreamer, which also includes a city where gods used to reign terror and now the people have been taken down from their high pedestal. And there's also some books by N.K. Jemisin that includes The Killing Moon and the Inheritance trilogy that share many things with this synopsis, and I loved those books. And so I'm hoping that this author takes this second chance that I'm giving him and he runs with it. I've been reading a lot of Black thrillers that include a get out aspect, and I have been absolutely loving them. So I was super excited when this book came out, which is called The Other Black Girl. This follows a Black woman who's in publishing, and she's pretty much tired of being the only Black person at her company until a new Black girl is hired, and she's very excited for them to bond and get to know each other. They start emailing each other and sharing hair techniques, and everything seems to be going well until the new girl becomes the it girl at her workplace, and our main character starts to experience very weird things where she's getting emails and post-it notes telling her to quit her job and to get out and to leave now, and she's pretty much targeted by someone within this workplace, and she starts to feel like this other Black girl is pushing her out as if there's only enough room for one token Black girl. And that sounds really good to me. To add cherries on top of this, the author of this book is actually a Black woman who used to work in publishing, and she has taken her experiences from real life and put them within this book. And I honestly cannot wait to read this book because, again, when no one is watching, and Ace of Spades, and I love these Black thriller books. Like, I need more of them. The next book that I have is going to be Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I know that we're following this character, and he's walking down the street one day when he sees this girl who needs help. He goes to help this girl, and they kind of fall through the streets of London into this underworld that literally lives beneath London, and there's no way for him to get back to the other side, and he's literally stuck in Neverwhere. It sounds like a whimsical, fantastical story where we have a male character who has this Alice in Wonderland kind of experience. That's honestly all that I needed to know to purchase it because that sounds good to me right there. Next, I have Sorrowland by River Solomon, who also wrote The Deep, which I loved so much. It's a favorite of mine, and so I could not wait to jump into their new book. In this book, it's kind of described as a gothic fiction, which, if this is a new wave, I am here for it. We have this main character named Vern, and she is 7 months pregnant, and she escapes this very strict religious commune that she lives in, and she runs off into the woods to have her twins. However, when she's in the woods and she gives birth to her babies, they're hunting her, they're after her, and something within her unleashes, and she lets out this powerful force to destroy whatever it is that's hunting her, and it pretty much ruins her body. Is wrecked beyond repair, and she's going through this kind of like metamorphosis. So we're following this woman as she tries to figure out what's happening to her body, the truth of the past and the present, and her trying to escape the strongholds that her religious community has on her, and also trying to keep those things away from her newborn babies. The next book that I have is The Midnight Library. In this book, we're following a woman named Nora who has a lot of regrets in her life and feels that there are so many things that she should have done differently for different aspects within her life, and she finds herself at this midnight library, which allows her to go back into certain points within her life and do them differently and see how they would have played out. So I believe that we're going to see our main character in so many different timelines within her life and seeing if she would have made a different decision, how that would have played out, if it would have ended better or worse for her. I know that this book is supposed to be a tearjerker. People who have read it said that it has really made them cry. I don't know if it's gonna make me cry, but it sounds good enough for me to read it. The next book that I have is called The Push. In this book, we are following a character named Blythe who has really high expectations and hopes for the type of mother that she will be. She wants to be loving and warm and caring and just there for her children. But when she gives birth to her daughter, something just doesn't connect. And she thinks that there may be something wrong with her daughter, but her husband seems to tell her that it's all within her head and that there's nothing wrong. But Blythe can't shake this disconnect that she feels with her daughter. Then Blythe has a son, and she connects with this son in every way that she ever hoped and dreamed of connecting with him. And even her daughter comes to love the son, and everything seems to be going well until there's an event that turns everyone's life upside down. This is also supposed to be a psychological thriller about motherhood and how women process postpartum expressions and emotions. And this is outside of my norm, but I am looking to jump more into the thrillers and psychological thrillers to see if that's something that I like. And as a mother of 2 children myself, this seems to be very interesting. It seems like a must read for me, and I'm really excited to read it. The next book was actually a gift sent to me, and this is going to be the graphic novel for Parable of the Sower. I have been wanting to read Octavia Butler's books for a while. I just haven't gotten a chance to read it. So this looks like it's going to be the first one that I read. And honestly, the artwork in this book, I love it so much. I get to read it in like a graphic novel form. In this book, we are in the future of America. We're in 2024, and America has basically succumbed to a lot of earthly disasters, and it's just a dystopian world. Nothing is going the way that it should. However, our main character is very well protected behind the gates of her very gated religious community, and her father is a Baptist priest or pastor, I'm not really sure. Our main character, Lauren, has the ability to feel physically the pain of others around her, and so she's dealing with that when something starts to happen to her where she's starting to develop her own religion that she calls Earthseed. Something happens, her gated community is breached, her family is murdered, and we follow Lauren as she travels away from her gated life and all that she's ever really known, and she starts to spread the word of her new religion, Earthseed, and the book just kind of takes off from there. I'm very interested to see how this plays out, and honestly, again, I'm just really into the artwork of this book. The characters are so chocolatey brown, and it just feels right to me. With the new release of Fondalee's book, Jade Legacy, coming out this November, I decided to go ahead and order hardbacks of Jade War and Jade City because I love this series so much. And I recently saw that Jade Legacy is going to be coming out in hardback, and I'm not waiting a year to read it, and I do want my series to match. And I remember a while ago I tried to get the hardbacks in these, but I had the hardest time finding them. So when I seen that they were in stock, I snatched them up so that when Jade Legacy comes out, I will have them all matching. And I am more than likely going to spray my edges because these books, they deserve it. And then the last book that I want to talk about is called 9 of Swords. This one is very chunky, like 700 pages, and it's a floppy paperback, so you can never go wrong with that. I saw this on Nori's channel, and when they read the synopsis of it, it just made me really gravitate towards it, and I remember purchasing it immediately. So I'm going to read you guys the synopsis. Welcome to the Morrissey Academy of Military Arts. As one of our students, we expect that you will fight to the end and win by any means necessary. Now that you are here, there are a few things you should be made aware of. Firstly, be mindful of the water's edge. The mermaids are not always to be trusted, and the dolphins are quite unreliable. Second, try not to get lost in the catacombs. Should you wander too far, your safety cannot be guaranteed. And remember, be wary of the jungle. The trees like to rearrange themselves, and do steer clear of the vines, lest you not return from your adventure intact or even alive. We hope to see you at the end of the year's games, should you make it that far. So you can see why I purchased this book. I feel like this is going to give me a lot of what I expect to see from the Atlas 6, and I plan to read them in conjunction with each other because I am just here for this dark academia, dangerous, deadly games to be played, and this one, again, is everything that I expect a paperback to be. And then we have Firebreak. So in this book, we are in the year 2134, and 5 of the states in America have submerged under the ocean, and so they no longer exist. But the remaining 45 states have been split between 2 mega corporations, and there is a split between the middle of who owns what, and where the middle borderlines meet, there's a state of constant civil war between the two corporations and their sides. And we are following this main character who lives most of her life in an actual video game. Somehow she's contracted to investigate the death of a girl who was murdered, and I think there's some overlapping between the corporations and the civil war that's happening within the territory that they own and the video game that our main character is playing. And that's all that I know, but I like synopses that don't paint a full picture because then I'm interested to learn more. Is it just me? Those are all the books that I wanted to talk about with you guys today. Thank you for stopping by my channel and watching as always, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!